I'd like to welcome everybody tonight to the Cheatham County Commission Workshop, May 12th, 2025. We've got 2 sheets turned in on the public forum. You'll have 3 minutes apiece to speak. First tonight's going to be P.J. Duncan.
Hey, how are you guys, ladies and gentlemen, doing? P.J. Duncan, the fire chief with the Pleasant View Fire Department, and I would really like just a little bit more than 3 minutes, if at all possible. I'll wrap that up as quick as I can. But we don't have emergency services committee meetings much anymore, so I just wanted to talk to you guys about some of the issues that's going on with our contract, with our fire contract. But it's been a tough year, I guess. But I wanted to go over a little bit of the history for a lot of you guys and ladies that haven't been here since the fire tax was done. Not as I look around, there was only a few of you that were here when we actually passed the fire tax. But back then, the fire departments were asked for their status quo budget. So we were asked to give the budget to the county that we operated on at that time. So that's what was turned in by all the fire departments in Cheatham County. And that's how the fire tax was set. That's where the numbers originally came from in the fire tax. Since then, we've been given about a 2% incremental increase over the time. The mayor did bump it up to 3%. I think 3% a couple of years ago, we got up to 3%. So when you look at that over the history of our fire tax and the increases that we've got, we've increased since day one, since the fire tax was passed, about 34%. That's how much our income has went up. The price of a fire truck, just a fire truck, has went up 166%. So those are some of the things, and those are numbers out of the Washington Post, and I know you guys know that with buses or patrol cars or ambulances or whatever, that the cost has went up. But during this contract negotiations, it's almost gotten a little bit, I guess, personal with me. I've put in 30 years in this department, 34 years this year in this department, most of it volunteer. The last little bit's been paid as the fire chief, but we've always had issues, or we've always worked through our issues with money or whatever it is. But this year, there's been some personal, I guess, I took it personal, assumptions or allegations that it's either mismanagement of money, or I guess the word at the last commission meeting was Pleasant View's out for a money grab, or some of those kind of things. And I just want to let you know that's not the case. This year, the mayor went through negotiations with us, and we've had about 7 different contracts back and forth with negotiations with the money up or down or whatever it is. And we agreed on a contract that actually put us in the red. We were still in a deficit. Pleasant View Fire Department was still going to be in the red at the end of the year. The mayor knew that. We talked about that, and we agreed that we would try to bring that money up over the next 4 year in the contract. You guys agreed on that. I took it to my board of directors. They were not happy with it. Anytime the board is trying to pass something that's in a deficit, it's like, why would we even do that? But I talked them into that. I'm like, they're working for it. We're working to try to help this out too. So they did pass that, and then at the last meeting, the last county commission meeting, there was an amendment or another motion that was made that you take out our option to do solicitations for donations. Now, since we've been soliciting for donations, we've had in our donation request that your services, your response services are tied into your fire tax or whatever you want to call it. This is a donation for above and beyond, those kind of things. So it was clear. I know some people say people don't read that, but I can't fix that part of it. We've been sending out donations and requests since 1970. Since the fire department's been a fire department. When the tax went in, we did stop for a little while, but then the cost got so high for us to even operate. We didn't come back to you. We've never stood at this podium and asked for an increase. We've never done that. For sure, not in my years since I've been in the administration here. We've never came to you and asked you for an increase. But with that vote you guys made last night, even with us operating and agreeing to operate in an original deficit for the next 4 years, you guys took out the solicitation option for us, which takes another $50,000 right off the top. So that's about $120,000 that if we sign this contract, we're going to be in the red day one. And I can tell you, our board of directors, We have a meeting right after this meeting. Our board of directors is not going to sign that contract. And I don't think we would either. I don't think any commissioner here or any citizen in Cheatham County expects us to operate in a deficit. You can't do that. That's not a business decision that any of us could make and sustain. We can sustain our business for very long. And I think you guys understand that. But I don't think when I watched that vote last month or whenever you guys made that vote, I watched it on the live stream. I don't think you really realized what you were voting for. At least I hope you didn't. That you were cutting $50,000 right off of our contract. Like I said, that donation is important to us, and we've done that in the past, so we didn't have to come back to you guys and ask for an increase. But we're at a spot now that there's no way that we can continue, that we can do that. I mean, we took and got some financial people to come back in and take everything that we spent over the last 2 years, just in Cheatham County, just in the rural area, every receipt, every payment, every gas payment, every whatever it is, and what it costs to operate, for us to operate in Cheatham County. And we're about $30,000 short in year 24. This next contract, where we're increasing our part-time people, we increase our part-time pay, we're going to be running year number 1, we're going to be running about $80,000 in the deficit, in the negative. And then again, on top of that, with the $50,000 on the donation, brings it to about $120 in the red. And there's just no way we can do that. So I just wanted, and I was asked to bring it to you guys tonight because my board of directors is going to make their final decision on it tonight, right after this meeting. And that's kind of where we're going to be at. Unless we can do something different, we're going to be in a spot January 1 where one of us is going to have to make a decision. Either the county's going to have to make a decision on how they're going to provide fire protection, or Pleasant is going to have to make a decision that they're just be willing to operate in the hole. And, I don't foresee our board of directors doing that, and I wouldn't even ask them to be honest with you. The difference between Pleasantview and most of your other fire departments is we have 4 stations that are just in the rural area of Cheatham County. So no other fire department has that. They're operating mostly from the city fire departments or the fire departments that the county's built. When we took over the Henrietta and our Jacksonville stations and those kind of things, those are stations that just operate in the rural area of Cheatham County. So that's why there's a bigger cost with us than there is anything else. We have 4 stations that we have to maintain. We just put an HVAC unit in one of them, costs $10,000. And that's our cost. It doesn't come from the county. Like, we don't get any reimbursement or anything from the county. Now I say that too to say that we've always been a county participant. We've always been a player. We've always made that sacrifice, and we pride ourselves on doing that. And all the way back to the rescue squad. When the rescue squad was in business, and some of the people around here were here then, when they got in financial trouble, we gave them our Cheatham County firefighters donation to bring them out. When Two Rivers got in trouble 2 times, we gave them our firefighters donation to help them out, help them for that pad over there at the nursing home fire station that's over there. When Ashland City a few years ago made the threats to pull back in the city, we gave them $40,000 of our money to get the contract so the county didn't have to do anything with that. When EMS in Pleasantview was sleeping in a mold-infested station, we built another living quarters for them on Highway 49. It cost us $180,000, and the county didn't put anything into it. We charged them rent that just covered our rental cost. And then we built our new fire station on Main Street. We built a complete living area for the EMS. Didn't charge the county anything. The county didn't give us anything. That was several $100,000 that went into that. So we allow the EMS, VJ can tell you, we allow them to put ambulances in our 2 stations anytime it snows or we have ice. We've always been that person that makes the sacrifice, or that department that makes the sacrifice for the county. And to hear some of the things that was said at the last meeting, or even some of the emails that I've gotten, to say that we've not been a good team player, or we've mismanaged our money, or we're in it for the money for sure. You can see that we're operating in a deficit, so we're definitely not in it for the money. And when I say that we're in a $8,000 deficit or $120 next year deficit. That is just operating expenses. That is not assets. That's never replacing the fire station, never replacing a fire truck, never replacing an SCBA. If you did that, if we had to replace that, then we would have to add another $592,000 on an annual basis to cover that. I mean, a fire truck today is $1 million for a base fire truck. Still crank windows, nothing on it. So there's no way we could ever replace a fire truck with what we've got. So we're not asking for that tonight. We're not asking to even have an asset surplus that we could buy a fire truck one day. Our replacement schedule on our fire trucks is 25 years. That's all we ask for. That's all we try to do is replace a fire truck every 25 years. We don't have any 25-year buses or dump trucks or ambulances or any of that. So I do think we're good fiduciaries of our money. We try to do what's right. But the stuff that you guys are asking us to do now is just it's not doable at all. So I would encourage you to revisit some of that stuff, really look at our numbers. I guess again, it hurts my feelings that that was done. Nobody ever picked up the phone and called me and asked what it cost or what kind of repercussions we would have or any of that stuff. It just happened, and I had to see it the next day on the live stream. But I would encourage you to do that. And again, like I said, we'll continue working with the county and doing everything we can, but we can't continue to operate in the red. Like I said, I think I know our board of directors are going to stand together on that tonight. But and I'll be glad to answer any questions if you guys have that. And thank you for more than 3 minutes.
Anybody have any questions? All right, moving on, Mr. Jim Elmy.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Last time I didn't finish what I was trying to show, because there's a lot of new commissioners. I called code, and they told me, if you put a tiny house, you're good. Why are you devaluating my property? That property costs more than putting tiny house. I need a bigger house, 121 Jupiter Drive. Why do I need a tiny house there? The second is, I showed you this before. Those are here are not here before. And if you don't mind, sir, you can pass and look at that property the way it looked like before, and the way it looked like right now. I just want to report tonight. A little girl, this morning, she was in the French Supreme Court, speak on behalf of Bristol University Law School. And she was leaving 6 hours ago, going to Germany, Geneva. Why? I am not like you. Okay? I am just like your great-grandfather. Come to this country and trying to earn and take good care of family. I can't do this no more. I cannot do this. You know, Bob, you know, the commissioner, what they call highway, I love him. He's a good Christian. Before him, they took the teeth out of my property. And now the code saying I have to move my trailer, RV, $30,000 RV, and they put me like this long driveway. I have a small car, I can get in there. But when I cut the grass, I have to fight to get in there. Ladies and gentlemen, I am just like great grandfather from this country. Work hard, earn what I have right now. said to God, give it to me what I have. This book here was written 1940s. And my psychology professor Andrew gave it to me after I talked about it. Hey, this was going on. This was going on. She said, you good? She didn't laugh, but she just giggled. She said, I'm going to send you this book, but put in the refrigerator. It is an old book. Talk about Eastern Europe. What happened to the Jewish? SS took their land, their synagogue, their schools, take them away from them. You know, we know SS. It's a secret military in Germany that time. Poland, they own like schools, bigger than, like Ashland City. They don't longer know about it. I never finished. I was crying halfway. SS was a red, look like this, red every door in the house. You have 30 minutes. If you read their book, it is just like 2 miles from them. It is a huge, beautiful Catholic church. And he was so awesome with those people. It was a plan to convert them, but they were just neighbors. He told them, they looked at to him, hey, this is what I got. That is the picture, the church, the Catholic church. And the elders one day, they said, you know what? We're going to walk it. And he said, let me see it. He agreed it. He said, they're serious. The book called The Ghetto from Nowhere. It was a red like this. It passed every door, synagogue, schools. You need to move. Ladies and gentlemen, this county has more land than mine. If somebody needs it, they're not going to get it. It's not for sale, never been for sale. It will never, ever be for sale. Your decision, I respect, but I will fight until I cannot get out of the driveway. I wish you could drive by it. 1120 Lakeside Drive. And look at the driveway, what they did. I used to come everywhere, straight, back, everywhere. You know what I mean? Now I cannot even take I have to maneuver or run. And I don't have a big truck. You know, I'm a poor person. But right here, I am working. Ladies and gentlemen, don't let somebody tell you something. You have to protect those who don't have a voice. Don't put red tag like this in front of the house no more. We are the greatest country in the world. I am just like your great-grandfather. I'm trying to build it up, but no one can stop me. I tried. But what else I can do? Don't take the land people walk their lives. Don't take the land people build their own schools. Don't take the land people build their own church, own synagogues. You have a power, but your power is gone. This is too old, okay? I cannot read. I was just teared up. But it just put me back. I said, you know what? I have the best commissioner here, but I have the worst. I'm gonna say, the worst government, municipal government ever. No one ever stepped up. None. No one ever stepped up and say, what are we doing? Ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to see red coming to my house. I don't want to see red coming to my property. I will talk to Bob. I respect him. I respect him as a good Christian. They need to fix that driveway. They need it. I cannot get in and out.
That's, that'll be with the road department, but as far as the codes on about your camper, we're gonna have a workshop in July. In our workshop, we're gonna go over.
Mr. Chairman, I cannot wait. I heard that before. I have heard enough.
Well, I mean, we're gonna meet in July in the workshop and go over the codes. I mean, Franklin, has anything happened?
No. I thought we were going to talk a little bit about it tonight.
We can't.
Mr. Chairman, let's be honest. We're free country. I paid that property 10 years ago. Paid off my house. I paid my bills, my tax, every year, never been late.
I understand.
What is my punishment? Come on.
We've-
Build what they call tiny house. You'll be fine. Do you know next door to me? It was 4 different people owned 10 years. 4 different people owned. And everybody, when they see the drone picture of the house, they thinking about my property. And they buy it, and they always negotiate with me. Hey, you want to sell it? No, it's not for sale. So now I can talk to the neighbors, but I cannot talk to my own government, municipal government. Come on. We're taxpayers. Let's be honest.
Mr. Chairman, can I talk to him?
Huh?
Can I say something?
Yes, sir.
We cleaned this lot up. We cleaned the ditch out. We put that cover down. He was throwing water with people next door. He wanted to put a cover across that road, then go back past his property, put another cover there. Like make a horseshoe out of it. We put that cover in there. We grabbed it, we cleaned that ditch out. Am I right or wrong?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Elmy, we're gonna have to move on, but
no. That thing they did, the driveway, everyone can go there. It is not somewhere I can even drive a pickup truck.
All right.
I'm not saying that the water has to go down to the river, because I live right there on the river.
well, that's the road superintendent's issue. We're gonna have to move on. I'll give you more than the 3 minutes we normally give, but we're gonna talk about the building issue tonight.
I appreciate you, sir, but please don't let this county
That's,
take away my property.
well, the driveway is an issue between you and the building,
No.
Road department.
Bob's gonna fix it.
Okay.
I have a faith.
Okay,
I have a faith.
okay.
Yeah, because when they did the driveway, they put the rocks like this big on the side. When the flood come in, that rock's gone. It's gone. So I appreciate y'all. I'm not going anywhere. I will bury this county.
All right, we're gonna move on. I appreciate it. Thank you. All right, building department?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So my first order of business is the reason.
I'm sorry, hold on.
You got it.
I'm sorry. Hold on, I'm sorry. Ed, Mr. Greer, jail update. Sorry, buddy.
We're doing work. Got the siding done, getting ready to start the roof. Got the French drains in the parking lot, they're gonna start moving that big dirt pile when it quits raining. Whenever it stops raining, but, been working, we spent more time the last week in the old building trying to get a game plan
We got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, fortunately, it's dried in, they're gonna pull off and dry this in. Administrative office, drywall's hung, it's finished, it's looking good. Tying in, storm drains, permanent power's on, gas is on. Then the next couple of weeks, we're gonna start testing machines. HVAC start running.
The mayor made mention tonight in the budget workshop that we're a little delay.
We're negotiating what they've asked for, 39 days total on, with the time we lost on the tie-in here. And it's realistic time, so we're looking at December of completing the building.
Did everybody get their email on the update, the jail update? If you haven't, you should have an email, update on the jail. Any surprises or anything going on?
Not at this point, we're getting all kinds of surprises. We spent all day last Thursdays with, mechanical, plumbing engineer, and electrical engineers walking through. Before we go into the whole building, we're trying to get a full scope of work to know exactly what we're getting into. Not exactly, as much as we can.
Right.
Without opening up walls.
And then Wednesday, the bid opening on the maintenance building?
Bid opening on the maintenance building, had 4 contractors, had 6 contractors pick up plans and 4 showed up with pre-bid. So, I think the mayor's planning on bringing that back to you next Monday.
The plan would be because of course the architect will review it, they'll review the bids when they come in, and once we get signed off by the architect to identify the best option, or hopefully it should be a low option, then we'll also work through budget. That's one reason I recessed the budget. We're gonna come back in the session at 5:30 if it's ready. We may need another month, but we'll know by the end of this week if we're gonna need more time or not. Hopefully we can bring it back Monday night, for consideration of the commission. It's a plan anyway.
When do you think the parking lot over there will be done?
It's according to proof rolls, probably 2 months. Once they start, they've already moved all the connex, well, there's 1 connex left, they're gonna start pushing the building, the berms, getting the drainage. They said they should have the drainage out behind the maintenance building all the way out that way by the end of June. And the freeze drain seems to be, it's taking a lot of water off the parking lot. There was a spring, I don't know if I told you last month, now there's 2 or 3 gallons a minute going into that parking lot, which adds up
Yeah.
over time.
Anybody got any questions, Mr. Greer?
As far as the tour, got asked for a tour. Do we do that in June? Do I like to do it before the June meeting? I can set up, I'll be out of town Monday, but I can set up a tour if you want on Monday. Cameron, JJ, do a tour.
Are our June meetings off schedule? We're not on.
I'd have to look at the schedule. We got,
I think the commission meeting is Mondays, and June is the 30th.
yeah, because of the budget. That's because of the budget.
Yeah. Is that the June? meeting?
June's gonna be,
Well, I set up a meeting next Monday night, I won't be here.
how many of you is interested in doing another walkthrough? Is it,
It looks a lot different there, like I said, the administrative office, there's, cell doors, there's ceilings going in, a lot of ceilings in the jail, there's, bunks are in, toilets are in, there's cells.
because
It's a lot different than it did.
because the budget meeting, the budget committee may meet at 5:30 Monday, so it'd have to be, right?
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
come good at 5:30.
How long will it take us to go through it? Hour?
I'd allow an hour, I think 4:30 Monday,
Is that okay? The ones that want to go through it, 4:30?
this coming up.
Yes.
I'll set that up, I'll
Okay.
send you something.
All right, send us an email. Meeting spot, probably the same space.
Right out here at the side.
Okay. Unless it's raining hard.
Rain's not gonna hurt you.
Okay, anybody have any questions? Thank you, bud.
Thank you.
Mr. Frank.
Okay, agenda item, there's one rezone request. John and Debbie Harder requesting a zone change from agriculture to R1 for a 1.56 acre portion of map 74, parcel 14.06. Property is located at 1560 Sam's Creek Road in the 5th voting district and is not in a special flood hazard area.
Anybody have anything on this issue? Anybody here to speak on this?
Can you hear me here, or do you like me?
Come down over the mic because it's live stream, so people will be wanting to hear you.
Hi, I am Alex. I'm John and Debbie's daughter. I'm trying to rezone to build on this property. It's all family property. It would just make it a little easier on us if I could rezone it to the 1.5 acres to the R1. That's all I needed to say. Thank you.
I'm in favor of this.
All right. Anybody else? All right, you think Mr.
I think she was turned down in planning and zoning because it was spot zoning.
Motion to, the motion was to deny for a spot zoning.
Yes, because it's a smaller lot than some, but there are many up and down Kings Creek that are smaller lots. And some of them were recently rezoned, but also it's a huge family piece of property and it's all connected.
Road frontage?
Road frontage, yes.
Yes.
Anybody else have anything on this? All right, be on Monday's meeting. Where can I see the other items?
Yeah, I've got a few things. If we can just take a few minutes just to talk about it. I'll try to be brief. We'll kind of run through them. Just kind of give you the history here. October 21st, 2013, the Cheatham County Commission adopted a resolution to send the discussion of allowing travel trailers to the Calendar and Rules Committee. That committee met over a period of 4 months with no conclusions or recommendations. March 17th, 2014, the County Commission adopted a resolution to direct the building commissioner to hold a work session to discuss changes to the zoning involving the use of campers and RVs as a temporary or permanent dwelling. They went through 3 months of workshops and found no way to allow a campsite in a residential zoning district. June 16th, 2014, the County Commission adopted a resolution to direct the building commissioner to enforce the current zoning. So any use not permitted by right, by accessory use, or as a special exception is strictly prohibited, and that's applicable in all zoning districts. Anybody aggrieved can go to the Board of Zoning Appeals. Around that time, there were 4 different cases that went to the Board of Zoning Appeals. They were all denied based on those findings. So I say all that to say, the commission could spend another 8 months in a committee trying to allow campsites in residential zoning districts, but would probably wind up with the same conclusions as the previous committee workshops. There are a lot of property owners that are passionate about wanting to have a campsite in a residential zoning, but there are also a lot of property owners who are just as passionate about not allowing campers in a residential zoning district. We actually have 9 open cases involving campers, or 9 active cases. That's the property we're all talking about. The home you see there, of course, they were substantially damaged in the 2010 flood. The house had to be demoed. I think along the way, we got several calls from people interested in buying, like, can I put my camper in down there? Can I use that as a campsite? And we had to explain to them, again, this history and what the county commission concluded in 2014. So they went and actually invested a lot of time and money to bring that up to code. They, all the FEMA codes, all the building codes, and, and they did all that, and including that, their property taxes have gone up. And then we get a call asking why there's a campsite next to them and they weren't able to do it. So we have to try to explain that, these same rules that I'm going over now. So I think the county commission, well, as an example, if you look at just Lakeside Drive and look at all those lots, I don't know if you can, okay, so my overhead is frozen. Okay. So as an example, you see all those little red dots, those are, if you allow campers, those could be potential campsites. And then you've got the same thing in some other areas, and it'll catch up. I just changed it, but I'll show you Floyd Lane, just down the road, another residential zoning, the potential for 10 campsites, if you allow it. And when that slide changes here in a second, down there, 20 potential campsites at the Sycamore Rec area, if you allow this. So you got to think how you want the property to develop over time. You want a good tax base. Do you want single-family homes, or do you want campsites, which wouldn't generate any tax revenue and probably put a strain on emergency services. So that's kind of the rundown of where we are, how we got here. Does anybody have any questions?
So the spots that you have marked with the red dots, is
Yeah.
that places that doesn't have a house on it?
They're vacant lots.
And in my opinion, those places aren't perfect places to have a campsite. Although I understand our zoning laws, but I have a really hard time telling somebody you can't do what you want to on your property. I'm not saying open campground because that's a for-profit, that's a business. But if I wanted to pull my camper down to my creek and camp at my creek, I mean, you're telling me I can't do that at my house?
You can at your house.
I can't at my house. Okay. But I can't pull it over to Mike's and have a camp out in
At his
yard.
house? At his house you can.
But if it's an empty lot, you can't.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I guess the non-vacant lot.
But not a vacant lot. But I
No.
can put a tiny house there.
Well, that's a
And
home.
If it floods,
You would
it
elevate
would
it.
be destroyed. But he can hook up to the camper and pull it out and not have any effect.
Well, like in the area there, if you built a tiny house in that area, it would
Well,
still
that
have
was
to
a
pass
suggestion,
FEMA. Well, I mean,
something, maybe comparable to that size structure, maybe a little more expensive, obviously, maybe double that, but then you got a code compliant area where you can go and, it might be small but efficient enough for you to enjoy the property, fish, use the boat dock, things of that nature, and be in compliance with the code. That's how that came up.
But you would have to pass FEMA regulations also.
You'd have to
build it.
elevate it, yeah. Flood proof it.
Don't you have a spot down on Sycamore Road that's got a camper sitting under?
Well, you've had a couple, 2 or 3 that have been to the Board of Zoning Appeals, and they determined that they had a campsite and a camper down there that predated the current zoning. So when you see those, that's what happened, except for maybe that's what happened, at least on the ones I've been involved with. After, there was a campsite there before zoning came, like before 91, when the current zoning came in. There's been a couple of cases like that. But, so yeah, you may see a camper down there, not many, but you might see 1 or 2.
But you're telling him he can't have a camper and camp over there. Can he set his camper over on his property?
Well, if you look at that picture right there, that's a code violation.
That's what?
That's a code violation. He's on his property and he's using the campsite as a use that's not permitted by right or conditional use.
But he can set the camper there as long as he wants to, as long as he don't camp in it.
No,
It can't even have
You
it on
can't.
He can't
you
have-
can't set a camper on your property?
on a vacant lot, no.
I think you need to check laws somewhere. I don't think that's right.
Well, we've been through this, multiple meetings with the Board of Zoning Appeals. This went on for months and months, around 2013 or 14, and that's the conclusion. I'm not making it up.
But if I own a piece of property, and that's vacant, that don't have anything on it, and I want to take the camper and sit on it to store it, you're telling me that I can't do that?
Yes.
Because the commission, in what year was it?
Well, I mean, after the 2010 flood, 2013, 2014,
When did the resolution pass?
pardon?
When did the resolution pass?
Well, the final resolution just to enforce the zoning was March 17th, June 16th, 2014.
Franklin, is that a reaction because we were just coming out of 2010 flood, so a lot of people who lost their homes, the thing, probably get hammered?
Well, it was a reaction. Yeah, a lot of homes that were, for example, in the Sycamore Rec area and other areas were destroyed, and then some rebuilt, some wanted to just establish campsites.
I mean, these are recreational areas.
Yeah, I don't disagree. It just went through a lot of scrutiny.
What happened was the flood, and in Sycamore Creek, there were people putting their campers out, because I had just come on the commission then, and I think I argued the same thing then. There were people coming and buying the lots to put $1 million houses on, and they didn't want camper beside them. So it passed all these laws so that the people who could afford to live there couldn't anymore. And it's very sad. I don't like that we're running people out of areas where they don't have anywhere else to go.
Most of this area over there, I mean, we drove down the other day, me and Jimmy did, and most of this area over there, you know what it's good for? Putting a camper on.
Well,
That's what it's good for.
you could build over there. if you
Well, you
want.
can build on it, but who's gonna go down there and build on it, and all? I mean, how many houses have been built on that in the last few years?
Well, this one in the picture and one at the very end, at the dead end, and of course, a few rebuilt after the flood. Some that were substantially damaged, elevated and brought it up to code. Those that weren't substantially damaged were able to basically leave it at grade level, the living area.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, you're wasting your time on this guy. You need to be out there doing, on Peter Pond Road, getting rid of that guy.
Well, there's a summons out for him, a summons. He hadn't been served. We've had it out for a while. I don't know, maybe they can't find him there, but yeah, that's the one you were talking about. It's the
You
same.
can't find him? Is that
Well,
what-
no, they have to serve him with a
Sheriff's
summons,
Department?
the sheriff's department. And, that's been out for a little while. I don't know if he's been served yet, that's what we're waiting on for that one.
Is there any remedy that you can think of that would allow him to keep his camper on site down there?
Not me personally, I mean, maybe y'all can come up with something,
Could he
but,
put a garage down there and house the thing?
well, see, you
inside?
can't put an accessory structure without a principal structure.
So he couldn't put a building to store or anything on
Not unless you got 15 acres or more.
So we would have to redo the zoning, pass a new resolution to allow this. Because the way it is right now, I mean, Franklin's hands is tied if we want him to go by what the commission at some point's passed to allow it. I mean, this body would have to redo the zoning.
We have folks that tear down a mobile home on a lot, drag it out in the field behind their house, and build a house, and they'll say nothing about it. We have folks that drag a mobile home behind their house, and there's people living in the house and the mobile home.
No, which one is that?
I'm just saying,
Well, Dale's here, he might could help answer some of that.
I'm just, it happened. We've talked about it before.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we try to clean up the county as best we can.
Mobile homes still set.
You got one person sitting back there with about 300 open cases to cover the whole county, and we're doing all we can do to try to address any type of property maintenance issue.
But again, these things are still allowed.
They happen.
And I'm not attacking your office, Franklin, it's not personal, I'm just trying to figure out, am I the only one who has a problem with telling people how they can use their property?
Well, I mean, you have to have zoning.
You have to have the zoning, but it seems like there's excessive.
You need to have some common sense to go along with it.
I mean, this commission has we have the right to make zoning resolutions. I mean, like you said, they had workshops for months to come up with this, and I mean, that's up to us if we want
I don't think we want to
Open
undo
this.
everything, but maybe, you know, like we have the county growth plan, there's the map that's the county growth plan, maybe we should have a county recreational area where you could allow certain things.
Well, when you say that somebody can put a tiny house on this lot,
Mhm.
what is a tiny house?
Well, it's just a small house. I mean, there's,
Is that a portable shed that I sit out
No.
on blocks?
no, it's a code compliant home that's small.
to take 300 square feet.
Yeah.
Minimum?
Why not?
I'd have to do some of the calculations. You could build a code compliant home around 300, 400 square feet if you wanted to.
But would he have to live in it in order to,
No, it's a single family home.
it just sits vacant so he can put a camper?
Well, I don't think it sits vacant. I see somebody down at that one, and I don't know, I mean, they have the right to be there, obviously, but I see somebody in a red car at this one a lot. You know, I don't know if he lives there, where's the sewage? What's happening with the sewage? Does anybody know that?
You talking about this camper?
Yeah.
Is
I
this-
think it's like,
What is happening with it? I
I
don't know.
don't know,
Did it have been pumped? Anything else?
With those
camera jacked up.
Yeah. And
We told us
as an
to-
example,
Mr. Chairman, we have a lady in the audience, probably could reflect a little bit on this, Miss Amanda Bell.
Is it okay with y'all to let her speak?
Okay for her to say a few words?
Ms. Bell, would you like to talk?
Yeah, you don't mind.
Yes, ma'am. If you don't mind, come up to the microphone. We got,
Good evening. I'm actually glad that you asked me to talk on this real quick. We get phone calls almost daily wanting a piece of land to put a camper on. I understand all aspects of it. I understand how can we tell you what you can do with your property. I think one of the problems that we have as a county is that we have a lot of properties out there that we are denying building permits on because we do not have a county maintained road. And that's no fault of anybody's, that's just how it's come to be. And so because of that, we have properties, like I have one over on Mockingbird, and it's severely devalued because there's no county maintained road and you can't build on it. So we have to advertise it as for recreation only. So we get phone calls that say, well, can I put a camper here? Well, no, you can't put a camper here. Well, can I put a shed there? No, you can't put a shed there. We have an ordinance against that. So I think you've got a couple of different things going on. I had a conversation with the building commissioner in Hickman County one time because if you've ever been to Hickman County, you know the majority of the roads are dirt roads. And I said, I don't understand if you can build and have building permits on dirt roads, why we can't? Because I understood it came from the state down, and he said, who am I to tell you what you can and can't do with your property? Now, I understand we need rules and we need guidelines, but I think the problem is bigger than just can you have a camper or can you not have a camper? Because a lot of these people are wanting campers so they can actually use their property. So if we could find a way to, whatever the case may be, start introducing some of these lots. Sunnyside Road is a
perfect example. Many years ago, I think at that time, we had 6 months from the time that something burned to the ground that you could replace it. These people lost their home in a fire. Sunnyside Road has about 5 houses on it. It's not a county maintained road. And we had to basically fire sale their lot because their insurance company caused them to miss the deadline and they couldn't build anything back. So I think it's bigger than just, can I have a camper, can I not have a camper, can I have a shed, can I not have a shed? We've got a lot of lots out there that have this issue because we can't build on it. So I would just ask that if you take that into consideration, but in the same breath, I urge you to use caution on how we allow campers to come into the area because that can get out of control very quickly. So, any questions for anybody?
Mr. Wilkerson, what is is it a law about the gravel roads?
I mean, that's a separate issue, but yeah, you gotta have at least 50 feet of road frontage on a public road or have a dedicated easement serving the lot before you can get a permit. Some of those, like Mockingbird Lane, I don't think you could even find the road. It shows up on the Tennessee Property Viewer, but if you drive out there, you can't even find it. So how can I issue a permit on that?
It's there, Franklin.
It is
I've driven it.
Mockingbird?
But is
But anyway,
is it a-
it's usually an old logging road. Emergency services, you would have a hard time getting there. I mean, we allow it with some improvements and going to the Board of Zoning Appeals, but a lot of those roads are just old, washed-out logging roads and got divided up in the 70s and nobody ever finished the road.
But is it a state law that says it has to be on a county-approved road?
I mean, that's the zoning that we've adopted.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. It's our zoning resolution that requires it.
Okay.
But it's not a state law.
State law requires it to be on a public road, or zoning resolution requires it to be on a publicly maintained road.
So that's a county by county. It's not a state thing, it's a county by county, what they allow.
As far as it being a county road, yes. And there are counties that allow, because where we are now is we require the road to be paved to county road standards. And there are counties that will allow you to build a road that is not paved, a gravel road. It still has standards, but it's cheaper than paving. Williamson County does that.
So do y'all want to have a workshop, preferably not in June with the budget, but is this something y'all would want to move forward on a workshop? I mean, this needs to have some public input to it.
I think we should have a workshop, I mean, a designated workshop, or at one of our workshops. I just think we need to think about it, and, yeah, it's an input from the public.
And like Mr. Wilkerson brought up though, I mean, if something come up and you allowed it, I mean, they're gonna have to have they're gonna have to have a septic system, they have to. That or I mean, I've seen places where they have a tank they have to have pumped, but I mean, especially being on the waterways, you don't wanna even have a chance of somebody just dumping it.
Right.
I was going to mention that, Diane mentioned, touched on the idea, when we were trying to figure out what to do at Sycamore Creek, one of the proposals was to create a recreational overlay or something that would apply to a specific area. So you wouldn't be saying you could have campers anywhere in the county, it would only be in this particular zone. And I actually drafted something to that effect, but eventually the commission decided not to do that. There was still a lot of neighborhood opposition to doing that.
And I'm sure there will be, no matter what we talk about, but do you still have that resolution?
Probably.
Could you forward it if you find it, just so we can kind of have an idea?
I'll see what I
What
have.
was proposed? I'm sorry.
So y'all wanna put this on the July meeting,
Yes.
Mr. Wilkerson?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you wanna talk about this other stuff?
What other stuff? What is, oh, I guess this body will have to decide when to bring back those other amendments. The
You'll do that in
penalty,
July?
civil, I mean, you know, we're not trying to force anything like that on any property owner. You know, we can take a little bit of time to look this over, but, you know, we still have those other amendments,
Let's get through the workshop and then we'll bring those amendments.
like the one
July?
about violation of zoning, conditional uses and all, just bring that back.
It's on your,
Yeah.
Well, it was tabled, and I didn't know if
Right.
y'all had set a date when you want to bring it back.
ones from last month.
So we, yeah.
Y'all want to work on that in July? Because it may tie in, kind of into this.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask that gentleman? a
Yes,
question,
sir.
please? How do you treat your sewage there with that camera?
Sir,
Your
I
s-
don't- I have sewage there, but I don't have something, I don't live there.
You don't live there.
I don't live there, I live.
I know, but if you go there if you go there to stay for a night,
No, I just go fishing, enjoy it, and go home. I have a house here bigger than that thing. I don't need even to, yes, it has a shower, it has everything on it, but why do I need to hook up everything and pay somewhere I don't live? You know what I mean? It just costs more money.
I think he's trying to ask you, do you use the sewer system in that camper?
Absolutely not, sir.
'Cause I think last month when you was here, you said that the toiletry and everything is still taped up on it. It's never been used.
No.
Okay.
Sir, that place, when I bought that thing, paid $30,000, it's sitting right there. Yes, I have what they call septic. I can have excess. I have a water excess. But why do I need to pay electricity, water, and everything? I can just go fishing, cut the grass, go home. I have a better bed and shower and everything.
Okay.
This is what I'm saying here.
All right.
It is not I leave there. Thank God, law enforcement here, before I put that thing right there, as I said before, there was like 5, 6 trucks coming because the water goes all the way around. The fishing. So I have to call the law. There's 2 guys sitting here in this building, help me to put, sheriff all around. So when I put that thing right there, sir, nobody, you won't even see nobody. No.
Okay.
Don't see a beer, cans, or anything at all.
well, you know, theoretically, a camper is self-contained. I mean, you can pull it to desert living. Everything there is self-contained. I mean, you can pump that.
Absolutely.
You can pump that second. I mean, you can
Absolutely.
pump
You
the
can-
tanks.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, you can call somebody, come suck everything out.
I know.
But I don't. I have a better bed,
Oh.
beautiful house. I wish you could just drove by 121 Jupiter Drive and see the house I live
Good.
Okay. Mr. Weekly?
We're gonna have this workshop in July.
Yes, sir. Just did our regular workshop.
Aren't we gonna have another one about the tax freeze?
Tax freeze, the comptroller, and city has to
So
take care
are
of.
we gonna, is it gonna be enough time?
Oh, yeah, we got all night.
Okay.
Did you say July 14th?
Yes.
Let me ask this. If he put a tent up over there and left it, would it be allowed?
I think it'd go back to that, remember that TP that y'all went through, which y'all both voted to not allow this back then in 14. But, and that, if you remember down at Sycamore Rec, the guy that erected that TP
Yeah.
and all this was kind of intermingled with all that.
I remember the TP,
But yeah, I mean, permanent, it's a campsite, so you
Yeah.
can't really, you know. Of course, we're not around there all weekend and don't, you know, I don't know what somebody does on the weekend, but if it's there Monday, then it's a zoning violation.
that's what I was wondering, if he, a person could do a tent and not take it down, if it would be allowed.
I think that would still be a campsite. It just has the potential to cause nuisances to the neighbors.
But, sir, you told me that if you just drove out,
Well, what we had talked about is,
yeah, drove out, you know, and come back, you will be fine.
well,
So why do I have to drive?
right now it's, you know, it's a permanent, well, it could be moved, but it's, right now, if you look at the picture, it's campsite, that's the principal
That's my
use.
beautiful property, sir.
Yeah.
I'm not going anywhere. The county, they can take that one away if they want it. And that is, I pay tax for that property.
Okay, has anybody got anything else? We'll put this on the July agenda and, go from there.
Sounds good.
Anybody else have anything for Mr. Wilkerson? So July, get ready for a long meeting. All right, budget.
Thank you, Chairman. The Budget Committee did meet this afternoon. Actually, we had to start at 2:30 to continue work on the budget. Again, the regular session here in courtroom 437 with our monthly meeting. First item was County General. Emergency Management, $20,362.84. Transfer of funds for Homeland Security Grant to reimburse expenditure line item to purchase from. Second item from the Sheriff's Department, $14,944.89. Transfer of funds received from Tennessee Highway Safety Office, driving under the influence grant to reimburse for payroll and equipment. Next item, also the Sheriff's Department, $1,000. Transfer of funds received from Tennessee Highway Patrol Safety Office, Network Coordinator grant to reimburse for travel and equipment. Special Patrols Jail, $14,522.96. Transfer of funds received from Tennessee Corrections Institute, TCI, training grant to purchase equipment that will be used to train our jailers. Next item, Social, Cultural, and Recreational Project, $17,750. This is transfer or accept donated funds from the South Cheatham Friends of the Library. That money earmarked and would go toward the testing for the ground for the proposed South Cheatham Library in Kingston Springs with $17,750. And the last item in item 1, the Sheriff's Department, which was a total of $21.54.62. Transfer unused funds from the Sheriff's Department and jail budgets to move a jailer position over to the Sheriff's Department to create a warrant process server position. The current jail employee is already doing warrant work. Funds are available within the Sheriff's Department and jail budgets to fund the difference in pay for the remainder of this year, but will cost an additional $59,4048 for the fiscal year 2025-2026 if it starts on July 1. Those were all approved by the Budget Committee unanimously, 5-0, no one absent. That's all item 1A. Any questions on those? Hearing none, we'll move on to item 2A, which is $11,243.18 from the Highway and Public Works area. This would transfer funds received from an insurance claim so that the County Highway Department can use that money to go toward paving county roads. Road Superintendent Bob Binkley was with us, and he said that was an insurance settlement on, it was some guardrail. I can't remember where he said the guardrail was from.
On Red Binkley.
Red Binkley. That was knocked out of Red Binkley, so the insurance now is settling, and so Bob was asked to use that money toward paving. Any questions on that? That also was approved unanimously by the Budget Committee to move forward. Item 2B, budget amendments from also the Highway Public Works Department. This is for highway and bridge maintenance of $54,000. Transfer unused budgeted funds for use by the Cheatham County Highway Department to also pave county roads in the amount of $54,000. This also is approved 5-0 with no one absent. Any questions on that? Moving on to item 3, County General and Highway Public Funds. This is $41,402.98. And this is, we started this last year when they were looking for funds to do additional paving. You may recall the gambling that's across the state, and proceeds that were coming to Cheatham County. You have to bring them into County General and decide where they go. Somewhat restrictive, it has to go into infrastructure some way. You may recall last year, what we had in reserve, what came in last year, we put toward the Highway Department for additional paving. That's just continuing that this year with $41,402.98. That also is approved unanimously by the Budget Committee. questions on that? Item number 4, solid waste and sanitation. In general administration, $3,000 transfer unused budget funds to cover trustee commission fees to the end of the year. And then at the convenience centers, out of their reserve funds. And that's $21,000 transfer funds from solid waste funds to cover a shortage for convenience center workers for the rest of the year. And that also is approved 5-0 with no one absent in the budget committee. Any questions on any of that? Moving on to item number 5, general debt service. 2 cents. 2 cents. Somebody's got to put their 2 cents in here. Transfer unused budget funds to cover a shortage due to rounding to the interest expenditure line. 2 cents. That was unanimously approved 5-0, no one absent. No debate or anything. Any questions on the 2 cents? Any concern about the 2 cents?
You throw in your 2 cents.
That's what it is. All right, moving right along to item number 6, budget amendments. This is general purpose school and education capital projects. We have a director of schools, short time with us tonight.
49 days.
How many more days?
49.
49 and counting. 49 and counting. If she is with us tonight, have any questions on this? We had Stacy with us during the budget session and talked quite a bit about all of these that were brought from the schools forward. This is $1.2 million transfer funds from the general purpose school fund balance fund K through 12 science textbook adoption as well as early literacy kits. This was approved 5-0 with no one absent from the budget committee. Any questions on the 1.2 million? Dr. Beck is here. I don't have any more times to bring Dr. Beck in, so please try to get her on something. All right, item number 7, general purpose school cafeteria. This is $400,000 they're asking to be used from unassigned or their fund balance to pay cafeteria expense, transfer funds to cover shortfall of cafeteria personnel. And the way it was explained to us was that this is taking from fund balance going through the end of the year. This is deferred payments from the federal government. So when these come back in, they'll go back to fund balance. Is that correct?
We've done this every year.
So
It's a time.
with that explanation, the budget committee 5-0 with no one absent. Any questions on that? Moving right along to budget item number 8, general purpose school. This was very interesting to say the least. $486,000 transfer funds from the general purpose school fund balance for special education services, SEI contract. We had quite a bit of discussion on this. We did approve it 5-0 with no one absent. Dr. Beck, you might want to explain this. This was, I'll do my term, probably a lot better. The way it was explained to us in budget committee, that they have had to basically put together a special force with this company to address problem children. And we're talking about preschool, first and second graders who are so disruptive in the classroom that they've had to take them out of classroom. They still have the responsibility to try to get them educated, try to get them back on track. So this contract is for those children through the second grade. Any questions? Did I do that okay? Okay. And that was approved 5-0 with no one absent. And then we approved the minutes for the month, and that was the budget committee's work for the day. Any questions? And as the chairman pointed out earlier, the budget committee went into recess to come back into session if needed on Monday afternoon at 5:30. Y'all will join us for review the bids, but also from the budget standpoint and the budget committee would be the recommendation how we would fund the maintenance building, whatever that low bid may be, or approved bids, not necessarily the low bid, most likely should be. That's what we expect. But that'll be Monday afternoon at 5:30 to bring that recommendation to you Monday night, along with the low bids, or the bids. Any questions on any of that? Thank you. That's the budget.
Anything in your section?
No, I was gonna tell you about the bid. I think we already covered that, so I'll be glad to answer any questions you have about budget or the mayor's office.
All right, now see any, Mr. Bly?
So last month, you asked me to take a look at the statute requiring the use of architects by the county on these projects and the consequences of not complying with that. I had found a couple things. I don't know that there may be other implications, but the two things that I did note was that there's state law that applies to officials. So any elected official who knowingly or willfully commits misconduct in office, or who shall knowingly, willfully neglect to perform any duty enjoined by such officer by any of the laws of the state of by the state, shall forfeit such office and shall be ousted from such office in the manner therein provided. So it could result in the ouster of officials that don't comply with state law. The other implication would be that there's a law that's just, I think we've talked about it some, but a law that was just passed this session. As far as I can tell, the governor hadn't signed it yet, but it's been sent to him for signature. And that would allow the Attorney General to review local government actions, and if they're found to be unlawful, he can institute a process to withhold all state funds. So any grants, contracts, anything by statute, state share, taxes, all that can be withheld from violating state law.
So, to be clear, the state law dictates that anything over, is it $50,000, we have to have an architect?
Anything involving architecture or engineering has to have plans approved by an architect or an engineer if it's over 50,000.
Anybody have any questions on that? You have anything else?
That's all I have, unless anybody has questions.
I probably shouldn't ask this, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. Where was you at when the county started building this building over here and appropriate $300,000 to build? Why did you not bring that up then?
I was not, as far as I recall, I wasn't part of the process. Nobody ever asked me about the process for building the building.
But you are an attorney for the county to guide and tell them what they should and should not do. Is that not true?
That's true, but I don't know everything the county's doing.
So you wasn't here when they appropriated the money to build this building over here?
I didn't know that it was not the intent to use an architect.
Okay.
Anything else?
I have a question,
Yes, ma'am.
but I'm sorry, I have to backtrack to Franklin. Franklin, Sweet Home and Just Terrace. It's already been to planning and zoning, so it's not gonna come before us at all?
It came before you. Amanda, can you help me remember that? Jess Harris?
No, I think you're thinking of the rezone. We're supposed to be doing plat approval workshop tonight. We went to the planning commission on, I think, April 3rd, and they recommended it for approval.
Yeah, I mean, you got approval, so you're ready for final plat. Are you here for that? There's nothing else for you to do on that.
They told me to be here tonight.
Who is that?
The planning commission.
If they said that, they might have, because you already got rezoned.
Yeah, we're fine with rezone.
Yeah.
We're looking for plat.
Yeah, and it was just, yeah, so plating just goes through approval from the planning commission. If they told you to be here, they may have just misspoke, and I don't know why. They probably just got it mixed in with the rezones.
I'll call you tomorrow then.
Okay, sorry about
Thank
that.
you.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right, anybody else have anything else for the attorney? All right, moving on. Mr. Perry, you have anything? See anybody else? Mr. Binkley, Sheriff? Dr. Beck? Give us some good words.
I have some good, this is my favorite report tonight all year. We started 3 years ago an initiative called Kindness Grows Here. And we paired every school with an organization here in Cheatham County. And it is our intent for our schools to give back to the community through service and fundraising, and really give our students opportunities We have two schools that are supporting Vantage Point. Vantage Point was given Halloween baskets. They were given Christmas performances by both the choir and the band. Valentine cards, written letters were sent there as well. We also had Habitat for Humanity, Sycamore High, raised $2,240.70. Four of their students attended and served at the annual Habitat for Humanity dinner. And then we had our students at Sycamore High attended the field day for Habitat for Humanity here in Cheatham County. Meals on Wheels in summer. If you haven't seen the Harvard High School garden, it is big and wonderful. And they donate their vegetables to Meals on Wheels so that the people that are getting Meals on Wheels get free vegetables. They also get eggs from the chickens. And then we just got 2 beehives there. So they're having an apiary, so next summer, the Meals on Wheels folks will get fresh local honey too. We had a personal care drive with different toiletries and things, and they made bags of them for the waters, the assisted living home at the waters. They gave 43 hats and sets of gloves. The waters residents love Little Debbie cake. So they told West Cheatham they would like them to do a Little Debbie drive. So they donated over 100 Little Debbie snacks. They did Valentine's performances. Right now, the West Cheatham is in the process of collecting art supplies for the people that live there at the water. South Cheatham Library is supported by Kingston Springs Elementary. They did a drive. They registered 50 new students to get library cards. Cheatham supports the animal control shelter. They collected 2,000 cat food cans of food. They also they partnered to do a Mother's Day project, and they raised over $1,000 for the animal control shelter with the children's drawings. Colby's Army had 47 pairs of gloves and hats donated, as well as over 100 bottles of water. And Safe Haven, our students at Riverside, collected and donated 60 duffel bags full of supplies for people that go to Safe Haven. I think that's pretty amazing for our children to be giving back to the community in such a big way. So I wanted to share that with you. Stacey Brown and Debbie Rosner and I are looking forward to continuing to do our budget on Thursday. So I hope to be there at the Devon Color Room at 2:30 on Thursday.
Wednesday.
Is it Wednesday? It's Wednesday. That's why my week is crazy this week. Wednesday. Thank you so much, guys. Wednesday at 2:30. Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody have any questions? Thank you, Dr. Beck. UT Extension?
I have good news to report too. We hired, and it was made official this morning, a new family consumer science extension agent. Her name is April Bernstrom. She is coming here from South Dakota, or North Dakota, I'm sorry, North Dakota. She's moving to Cheatham County. She said Tennessee's just been calling her name, and she can't wait to get here. We have talked about affordable housing and the need. One of the struggles with her accepting the job any quicker was trying to find a place to live, affordable rent. There's just nothing out there. I look at these prices and I can't imagine renting either, but she found a place. It's all in in a small community, so we pulled all the strings we knew. We found her a nice little house to rent. She'll start June 23rd. Then I did some math just like Dr. Beck, and I figured out that our office this year gave out over $12,000 in college scholarships to graduating seniors between our Cattlemen's Association, the Master Gardeners Association, Cheatham County 4-H, and our youth leadership. We gave out over $12,000. And the 4-H and youth leadership scholarships are all because of an endowment we have that Mr. John Mayfield set up for us. So it's a recurring funds that we don't have to do any fundraising for. So that's the best kind of money to have, so I don't have to go out and knock on doors and sell funnel cakes at the fair and that sort of stuff. So again, thank you to everyone that supported the Cattlemen's Association. It's always on my son's birthday, so I'm never able to go, but I know a lot of y'all are there, so thank you.
Do you have any questions? All right. Chamber, give her the updates she's left, but there's your update she handed out tonight. All right, Beer Board.
We did meet and I sent the minutes to all of you. We approved a permit for another Dollar General.
Wow. Emergency Services.
I don't have anything, but Chief Duncan is here. I asked him to come and speak, just so for the folks who didn't understand about the donation side of things and the solicitation of things. I asked him to come speak, just to pretty much explain to everybody, to hear the word from the horse's mouth. So I encourage you guys, if you have any questions, like, now is the time to ask those. Like, he's here to answer those. He'd be more than glad to answer them. I just think he set out time to come and speak. At least if anybody has any questions, now is the time to ask. Like, if you want to know something, just ask it.
I've got a question. We went over, I think it was during maybe the contract talks, the percentage of calls Cheatham County has compared to Robertson County. But our percentage of what we pay, correct me, Mr. Mayor, if I'm wrong, is more than Robertson County, but our call volume is not as much. How is that right?
Because the call volume is a small part of our cost. Robertson County only has one station in their entire county. You guys, in your rural area that you're paying for, you have 4. So that's 4 fire engines, that's, double or quadruple the SCBA's, that's, you got utilities, you got repair, all of that. I mean, that's the expense, is the stations, and the upkeep. I mean, you're essentially doing 4 times that cost versus Robertson only having one station.
So you only have one station outside of Cheatham County?
We have one inside the city limits of Coopertown and one inside the rural area of Robertson County. So the rural area of Robertson County only has 1. Just like the rural area of Cheatham, like I said, has 4. And that's not counting Pleasant View's station inside the city. That's just the 4 rural stations. And that's like I said, we just put an HVAC unit in, which is $10,000. So all of those, our fire station replacement plan, all that money I talked about earlier, still does not include any fire station replacement money. So our replacement plans for our stations are set up on 50 years, and we'll get 50 years out of every building. But with the money that we're operating on, that'll never happen. I mean, we can never buy a fire truck or never replace the fire station on that money. That's just, I mean, I think we all know the inflation, the just the cost of doing business today is crazy. But yeah, the actual call volume is probably, I won't say it's the least expensive, but it's not near as expensive as maintaining these 4 stations that are 20, 25 years old.
Well, if you're in the red, how did you ever buy a fire truck? Because y'all have fairly new equipment on trucks and pickup trucks and trailers. I mean, how did you ever buy any of that if you're in the red?
Grants, right? So we average about $500,000 every year on federal grants, federal and state grants. We've been 100% lucky on state grants. It's like playing the lottery, to be honest with you, but we've been super, super lucky. We've averaged about $500,000 every year on grants. But the current administration, those grants are gone. That's no more. They closed down the National Fire Academy and taken away the AFG grants. So this year will be our last year to even be able to apply for grants, unless something changes. I mean, as of today, those grants are gone. So that's how we've been able to operate because I know I talk a lot about operating in the deficit we have, but we've been able to do that with whether it be fundraisers in Coopertown where we do a chicken cook-off and those kind of things, or it be the grants where we've, and the state grants, the federal grants, and those kind of things. So that's how we've been able to operate. But as far as the new trucks, we haven't bought a new truck in, it's right at going on 10 years now. So besides the ladder truck, and that was where we went in together with the 2 cities, Coopertown and Pleasant View City, where they had to have that for the Lowe's distribution plant and the hotel there in Pleasant View. But everything else is going on 10 years old, and all of the other stations are. Most of the fire trucks we drive, probably 80% of the fire trucks we're running now are older than the people driving them.
Well, I think as far as being in a rural area, the issue, especially for the people I've talked to about it, is we pay it on our property tax. it comes out on the bill, the fire tax. So why would we be asked to donate more money when we're being taxed to pay for our fire protection?
Because the money we get is still a deficit. We don't get enough to pay for what we do. I mean, like I said, we took some financial people, went back for 2.5 years and pulled everything that we spent. And we went over everything and itemized everything to each entity that it goes to. So we could be 99.9% sure that every expenditure we have is assigned to the right government entity. And that's where we come up with that. We've worked hard on that to do that, but we still operate in a deficit in Cheatham County. I mean, there's no way to say any other, I mean, there's no way to sugarcoat that. So and we've done that. Like I said, our increase from day one in the fire tax, we went up 34% since we enacted the fire tax. The cost of operations has went up well over 150% in everything. When we first started buying SCBA's, the last time we bought SCBA's, which is the breathing apparatus that we wear, we paid $3,200 a piece for them. Now they're over $10,000 a piece. We just got a bid to replace just our breathing apparatus because OSHA says they have to be replaced every 15 years. So 15 years ago, we replaced them at $3,200 a piece. This year, our SCBA's are 15 years old, so OSHA compliance is gone after this year. And the bid to replace just our SCBA's is $659,000. So, and that's just the tax that our firefighters wear. That's not the trucks that drive them or the people that wear them or any of that. So it's just the cost of operation. And we went back to doing donations several years ago now, because we were going to try to make up that without going back to the county and asking for a tax increase or an increase on our contract. So I would much rather you guys pay for the service, you know, what it costs, because it costs us to send them out, then we have to have the manpower to open them and deposit them. And I mean, if the county gave us the money that we didn't have to do those mail outs, I would love to never send the mail out again. It's not that I want to send them out. It's just we can't take that $50,000 hit on top of all, you know, the other. I mean, our contract this year, different from last year, says that we will have 2 people at both of our stations, 12 hours a day, 5 days a week. And there's not enough money, there's not enough part-time money in that to do that. So, I mean, we're having to eat that difference anyways, and we have to. With this coming year, where we actually had to raise their hourly wages to even be compatible with anybody around us, and that's pushing us about $80,000, about $80,000 in the hole just on the part-time side, not counting the regular operational side of it.
So if someone lives in a rural fire district and they're paying their taxes and they have a fire, do you come out and put it out?
Sure.
Or come out? Do you bill their insurance company for the service?
We do send the bill to the insurance company. Now, most of the insurance companies have a rider built in, and they'll either pay the fire department, reimburse the fire department $500 or $1,200. State Farm, I think, is $500. So whatever they have built in their policy, then the insurance company will pay that. We don't bill the individual after that. So if the insurance company doesn't pay, or they don't have insurance, or the insurance don't have that rider, then we don't bill the homeowner. So
I think that part of the problem was there was a misconception amongst some of the constituents that if they didn't donate, y'all would show up.
I mean, if you read the brochure, and I brought it to the Emergency Services Committee, had the Emergency Service Committee read it, they okayed it, and we sent it out. I mean, we did everything we were supposed to do with that. And it specifically says in there that this does not affect your emergency response at all. I mean, that's all laid out in there. I mean, it's, like I said, we didn't send it out without approval with the Emergency Services Committee.
I understand that, just sometimes people just don't.
I can't fix that. I mean, I wish I could.
No, you can't, I can't.
I can't fix it. If they don't read it, I can't fix it.
The last 2 mail outs, that was a month or 2 ago, wasn't anything home there.
The second,
I went to the code and there wasn't anything on it that tells you that you've already paid on the fire tax. Though you sent out 2. Neither one of them had it on.
No.
I'm saying yes.
I'd love to see them. So.
You sent them out.
Well,
and you had the QR code, and I went to it.
That
It doesn't say anything about it. And I get more telephone calls about those mail outs.
we will send them, Hey, it's your decision. If you don't want to send them out, we won't.
Well, I wish you wouldn't. At one time, it was in the contracts that you wouldn't send them out.
But for everybody else, we sent out a 3-page flyer that explains all of that. It's a pamphlet that explains all of that. The postcards that he's talking about, the QR code, is just a postcard. It's a reminder of the first. So if you didn't pay the first time, you get the postcard. There's not enough room to put 3 pages of information on the postcard. It just says, just a postcard to remind you to go back to the original thing that you sent out. If you paid the original one, you didn't get the postcard. They're just, like I said, it's just a reminder. So,
But you had two within a month of each other. Was one big one, then it was a postcard. Maybe one of them told that you were paying on the fire tax.
the big ones did, yes, sir. They did. Does anybody in here get them? I mean, BJ, I know y'all got them. Anybody in our district got them? So it says that, right?
It does.
One I got did.
But maybe one.
Well, no, it was a big brochure.
Yeah, I mean, it says it.
No,
If you bring it to me, I'll be glad to show it to you.
I got it at home.
Okay.
I have it here. But I get more telephone calls about that.
But anyway, that's why we did the donation, was to try to make up that deficit, to try to help out with that deficit, so.
Chief,
I don't
what's it
know.
cost to send out the mail?
I would say the total cost with postage and everything's probably, in our entire district, is probably 7,000, somewhere around that, most of it, I have to look to be on, to be right at
And
it.
you still get 50,000 in donations from that?
Just for the county, yeah. But we send donations out to our entire, I mean, Pleasantview City, Cooper County, I mean, it goes to our entire district, not just Cheatham County. It goes to everybody. But like I said, our board of directors is meeting right now, and I'd love to be able to work out a contract, I'd love to fix this, but we can't, we're not, and I don't care if we don't send out donations, like I said, I'd still not do that, but we're gonna have to make up that cost, we can't go into a contract at $120,000 on the altar. I mean, that just doesn't make, I don't think anybody could ask us to do that, I mean, and be okay with that, so.
What stations do you have open? I mean, I know there's one on New Hope Road, and there's one at Thomasville Road. Do you still have the one, Henrietta open?
And the one at F2, and Highway 12. Right there where the convenience center is on Highway 12.
Well, I guess I'm wondering, why do you have 3 that close together that's still open, and 2 of them in old buildings that are not efficient? And if you've got heat on them, then all of them, you're just almost throwing it out in the.
Well, you have to have heat on because the fire trucks are.
I understand, that's what I'm saying, you've got heat on, so, and those buildings are not efficient and all, so it's like, trying to heat outside.
I agree.
I mean, why don't you close those 2 stations down?
Because everybody that's within the 5-mile radius of this, that's why they're there for the ISO rating. If you close those stations down, those people, those constituents in that area will go from a class 4 or 5 ISO rating to a 10.
The departments and the emergency services committee worked really hard to make sure that we had everybody within 5 miles.
Right.
We have a very small pocket that's not.
And then your homeowners will go up, you should have been that, pretty close to that.
And a lot of insurance won't even insure a class 10, so. But that's the reason they're open. And then Diana's right, the county wrote an emergency services plan years and years ago, and that's how these stations that the county just built, the Thomasville, the one in Peterborough, and the one in Ashland City on Petway, that's where they were strategically located to get everybody within that 5-mile radius so they could get the insurance rating. So I think like 94, 96% of the county is within 5 miles of a fire station. It's in the mid-90s, I'm not exactly sure, but the ISO gives us credit for 100% of that. So.
Well, I guess I'm kind of confused about, are we getting anything out of those 2 stations, or are they just something that's within a 5-mile radius? I mean, you don't have anybody manning those stations, and if you get a fire in Henrietta, you're gonna come from Pleasantview to that fire.
sometimes, because we don't have the money to staff it. I see what you're saying, but it's, the money comes from the county. So if we don't have the money to staff it, we can't staff it. They are staffed with volunteers when we have volunteers.
So you're deceiving the insurance company.
No, sir. We're deceiving the insurance company?
Yeah.
No, the ISO comes in and rates us. They go over all of our records. We have to send that into the state within 5 days, every month within 5 days of the fire. So, no, sir, we're not deceiving the insurance company. There's volunteer fire companies all around, and we do the best we can. We have volunteers that live in those areas. They're not staffing the station. We don't tell the insurance company that we staff the stations.
So the fire halls in them areas, the volunteers get a call, they go to the station, get their trucks, equipment or whatever, and then they go out.
Correct.
And that's why most of them were for years.
Right, and that's the way a lot of your volunteers are still that way. I mean, we have some volunteers that spend the night at the stations. But that's, again, they're volunteers. And that's where we've got to do something. That's why I'm saying all of this is, we're gonna have to look at this in the big picture, because 10 years ago, we were running 1,500 calls. This year, we're running 3,000 runs. So I had the numbers on my sheet of paper, I didn't say it, but since January 1 of this year, because at night, we're 100% volunteers. Like he was just saying, we don't have any paid people in any of our stations after 6 o'clock in the afternoon. So right now, at 7 o'clock, even in Pleasant View City or Coopertown or Robertson or any of our other stations, there is nobody. They're all 100% volunteer right now, after 6 o'clock. And since January 1 till today, our volunteers have slept 11 nights this year. There's been 11 nights this year that they hadn't woke up at least once after midnight. And these are volunteers that have to get up and go to work the next day and do whatever they're going to do. And I'm not saying we can fund all of that in one commission. We can't do that. But we're going to have to look at that at some point that says, it's just too much to ask volunteers to do. But yeah, we staff the stations. We staff 2 county rural stations with the money that the county gives us. And that staff's 5 days. It gets close to 5 days a week, 12 hours a day, Monday through Friday. But after that, it all goes back to volunteer.
How many hours a year does a volunteer have to train?
Well, it's 360 to even get your state certification. 360, I think is what it is, to get your state certification. And then they have to maintain that throughout the year. The state requires us, as volunteers, it requires them to do the same number of training as the Nashville Fire Department or Clarksville or whoever. You still have to do the domestic violence every year, the Vanessa K-Free, your driving, all of that stuff has to be done every year. There's no difference in the state requirements, whether you're paid or volunteer.
So when you say you take 50,000 in on this solicitation, you take in 50 grand.
Oh, sure.
You spend 7,000 sending them out. Is that what you said?
7,000 in our entire district, yeah.
So does that mean that would it be safe to say that you've taken in 43,000?
No, sir. 7,000 is our entire district, which is however many thousand households. That's the overall. The 50,000 we collect is just in the, I'd have to break that number down. It'd be less than it'd be way less, it'd be just say a fourth, well, it'd be probably a little bit more than that, but it's, the 7,000 is sending it out in our entire district, cities and counties both. The 50,000 that we collect is just that number is just Cheatham rural. So it'd be quite a bit less than 7,000 just to send the rural, the mail outs in the rural area, if that makes sense.
He's saying this Cheatham and Robinson areas combined cost
Right.
that.
The 7,000. I don't have that number broken down.
Well, I'll tell you what I have a problem with, and I think most everybody here does. I don't want to speak out of turn for everybody else, but I understand where you're coming from with your money. But to me, if one person opens that envelope and they send you money out of negligence because they say, oh, I got to pay the fire department, that's wrong.
Well, then fund us where we don't have to do that.
Personally, myself, and I'm just one vote here, I'd rather give you the 50,000 and you never send one of them out again. Because if one person sends you money by mistake or out of the goodness of their heart, I thought, oh, I gotta pay the fire department. That's wrong. Any way you figure it, they already paid you. That's wrong. And you're the only one that does it.
We're not.
Who else does it?
I'm not gonna throw them under the bus, but we're not the only fire department that does it, you know.
I beg to differ.
Do they do it in some other way?
And I don't have a problem with you sitting up out there selling barbecue or hot dogs, or if you can make $1 million selling whatever, I don't have a bit of problem with it, because that's a totally different situation when somebody walks up there and there's a bucket sitting there and they can physically see what they're putting their money toward versus, well, this is, I gotta say, I get them all the time from Two River, what's one?
Harbor Bridge.
No, Harbor Bridge. So we're White Bluff. I get them every time I open the mail. Clay. I get them every time I open the mailbox. I bet I get for a year.
I would love not to send them out. But I mean, we gotta survive, right? We gotta pay our light bill, we gotta pay.
I understand that, but you gotta understand where we're coming from whenever, to me, it's just, I understand your side of it, but if somebody sends you $5 out of ignorance, then that's wrong.
I mean, we do all we can do. All we can do is write it and explain it, but if they don't read it or they misinterpret those things that I have no control over. I mean, we do like I said, we did the best we could. I mean, you guys, the emergency services read it, word for word.
When you look at it from the perspective and say, oh, if they don't read it, that's their fault. I got a bigger problem with that.
Well, like I said, we're doing the best we can to survive. I mean, if you want to pay for the service, then we'll put send them out tomorrow. I mean, I'd love to, honestly. It's a lot of work on our end that we shouldn't have to be out selling barbecue. We shouldn't have to be out cooking chicken. I mean, the EMS don't do that, the fire department or the police department, the sheriff's department don't do that. I mean, it seems we are the only service in the county that saves the citizen money on their homeowner's insurance, but yet when and we're the only one that I feel like have to fight tooth and nail to get. We don't ask for a nickel more than we need. Matter of fact, we don't even get what we need. We've never come here and asked for that. But we're the only service I feel like that has to fight, that has to justify every single thing we do. And we still have to figure out ways, write grants to survive, do donations, cook barbecue, cook chicken, but we shouldn't have to do that. I feel like you guys ought to be appreciative enough that these guys are not working for a salary. They're out there volunteering. Our guys and girls are doing it for nothing anyway. They're saving millions and millions of dollars a year by doing it on the volunteer. And it ain't like back in the day when they were doing it 100 times a year. They're doing it 3,000 times a year now. So that's more than most paid fire departments.
Well, I'm gonna dig into that, see how many other fire departments are sending out these things.
Yes, sir. And I don't make this up. I served as the president of the Cheatham County Firefighters Association for years. I promise you, I'm not making stuff up. So, I mean,
Do we have money in the fire reserve?
I'm sorry?
Is there money in the reserves for the fire departments?
There is from collection of the entire county.
But it's tied to the fire tax.
Well, it's going to pay the first year of the contracts, it's going toward that, and then the tax picks up.
Mr. Mayor, if we looked at giving Pleasant View money to not send this out, would that not affect the other fire department? Couldn't they come up and say, well, we want more?
Well, they would be replacing donations. I'm not, the other governments we deal with are city governments.
Right.
Town of Ashland City, Keystone Springs, and Pegram. And I'm not aware of any of those sending any donations out in the rural areas to raise anything. Are you, PJ?
not those three, no.
Okay, well, there's our main people that we contract with. The only other, which is a other volunteer fire department, is Harbor Bridge. And I don't know if they do or not, I haven't asked. But their apart from the county contract, I think it was $3,400 a year. So again, I don't know how many homes they cover, about 600, I guess, in Cheatham County. I think it is a very small area. So it'd be very easy to, but I don't, BJ, are you familiar if they were asking donations? I've never heard of one.
I have no idea.
I think they do.
And they may, but again, they're volunteer, but again.
Harbor Bridge does, and I was trying to the Harbor Bridge does. I they get more than the 36 or 34.54, whatever amount they get more than that in their donation, so.
Well, and again, it's not a major part of the county, and they haven't come to us to request anything, and I haven't seen their donation request, I don't know what they're asking for, how they're doing it. But none of the major contracts that we have with those three cities and Pleasantview Volunteer Fire Department, and I know none of the other three are doing that. And I believe Edwin told me, if I'm not mistaken, is that when the contracts first came out, there were several that were sending out dues, almost like dues, like an insurance bill due when they weren't getting any tax. And that was in the early contract saying you can't do that anymore because we're paying the fire tax. I believe that's what Edwin said.
Right.
But as far as where we sit right now, there's no other city that we're dealing with on a contract basis that's been sending donations out to rural areas that we are contracted with them to cover.
Well, so what I'm hearing then is there's only one other fire department that solicits, Harper Ridge. Okay, well then what's fair is whatever Harper Ridge is collecting on their donations. Does anybody know what that is?
I don't know.
Well, it would only be fair to them if we're gonna give you 50 grand, give them 5 grand or 10, whatever, and tell them no more. Because it's not right, it's no more right for them to solicit than it is for you to solicit.
Isn't Harper's Ridge in Dixon County?
They serve the Harper
They
Ridge.
serve, but their department is in.
They're in and they cover the old Lake District for us too, being over
We can't really
49
tell
like
them
that.
what they can do.
The station itself is in Dixon County, that's correct.
But they cover the 8th district.
I think it's about 600 homes, that's how I recall. The numbers. It's a very small area. This region is a very small contract amount every year that we pay them to do that.
So they would be under a totally different statute than he would be.
Well, we're giving them about 900,000 a year at Pleasantview, and we're 3,500 at Harper Ridge.
But what I'm saying is they don't, by them being they in Dixon County, by them being in Dixon County, we have no jurisdiction over them to tell them they can't solicit.
Well, we have jurisdiction of the contract, just like we're battling out with Pleasantview right now. I mean, if they want to serve the area, we put that in, we put that in the contract. I mean, we put it in all contracts that I'm aware of.
So the latest revision has the same language for everybody. Solicitations in the rural district that they serve. And just like Pleasantview or anybody else, outside of the district that they're contracted for, they do decline.
I know it's hurting you, but smaller districts like Harper's Ridge, where they all are volunteers, that would kill them. If we took away all their, sorry, it's been a long day, all their ability to raise funds by sending out letters.
I mean, when this discussion came up about donations, when we were just negotiating back and forth, he indicated that, and it's supposed to be on the brochure, that this extra money goes toward education, the places you go to schools and stuff. Is that in the brochure? This is to pay your electric bill and keep these stations open?
No, sir. I'm not gonna sit in here and argue. If you guys don't wanna do it, I'll just take it back to the board and we won't have to do that. But no, we did that so we could try to tie the emergency services into the fire tax. The stuff that we do at the schools and the stuff, the CPR classes in the community, that's always been done. But we can separate that money and use that just as take that $50,000 and it just frees up the $50,000 that's in the response side of it. So we can use that with the stuff that we do in the communities.
No, I bring that up, but it's not part of their operation. The electric and stuff to keep them up and running and pay these firefighters and make these calls. That's a contract to make those calls. He's saying donations are separate for these educational purposes and all this other stuff. I don't, again, if we go down that route, I guess the other ones could come back and say, we're going to do educational stuff too, and we want ours covered.
Well, let me tell you what our board, and like I said, they're meeting right now, watching it on Zoom, but the thing that they're gonna ask for is for us to be made whole, for us to, the fire department to be made whole as what it costs on the operations side. Like I said, if we were gonna replace the fire truck every 25 years and build it every 50 years, we would have to add another $500,000, almost $600,000 a year to do that. We're not even asking for that. And the way we are today, we'll never be able to replace the fire truck. The fire trucks in the rural areas are over 30 years old. But the difference between Pleasant View and any other municipality is all of the stations that are in the rural district, all 4 of them belong to us. So when something goes wrong, we have to pay for that. When, if you, like I said, HVAC or roof, or we have to pay the insurance and all of that stuff. So it is a lot more expensive to operate those stations than the other stations. I mean, you just take replacing 4 fire engines. That's $4 million. When, I mean, look at what we're getting, and tell me how long it would take to replace 4 just fire engines. That's not counting rescues, brush trucks, tankers, all the other stuff that goes with that. I'm telling you, the way the fire departments are doing business in Cheatham County, they are saving you guys millions and millions of dollars. If, and I don't, this is not a threat, so don't take it that way, but if Pleasant View closed tomorrow and we hung a close sign on all 4 of those stations, you would have all that rural area that would go to class 10, that would be without insurance, and you guys would have to build 4 stations, buy 4 fire trucks, buy tankers, buy rescues, buy brush trucks, and hire people. Because I'm telling you, you're not going to get enough volunteers in those rural areas. They just don't exist. I mean, volunteers are harder and harder to come by. So I don't want to argue over $50,000 or $60,000. It just irritates the crap out of me that it's not more appreciated for what the fire service does in Cheatham County. I mean, it's millions of dollars that are saved annually. So, and our board is ready to do whatever, but we're not gonna operate in a deficit anymore. I mean, this year has been. I'm telling you, I've lost more sleep this year than I've had in the 30 years I've been in the fire service, just because of these contracts.
Well, I don't know where you got your information from, but nobody sat here ever said anything that y'all wouldn't appreciate it, or that you was frugal with the money. I never heard that.
Well, I did.
Well, I did, and I was sitting here.
Where'd you hear that?
On the live stream. Mr. Weekly raised his hand and said, "It's just a money grab by Pleasant View." Those were the exact words.
That's right. In my opinion, it was.
Well, I don't think, I appreciate you. I think everybody in here appreciates you, and that ain't what this is about.
I appreciate it,
This
but I
is-
just
that
don't
is- that
think
is
the
not what this
donations,
is about.
I don't think the donations are where it needs to be.
I'm with you 100%. So, I mean, if we can.
And I get more telephone calls about that than anything else.
I'm not arguing that we should be able to that we should have to rely on donations. I wish we did. I wish we didn't rely on donations or grants. We shouldn't have to rely on any of that.
All right, anybody else got anything?
How do you come up with, do you have a formula of how many houses is in a certain district as to how much money they get?
That's what we're working off existing contracts and going into the next 4 years, how we need to fund or what they need. And again, every department, as I explained before commission when we roll this out, every department had issues of even part-time, those who had manpower dollars saying it was based on 4 years ago, it was what, $15 an hour or something, or whatever it was. And so again, we were really needing to address the overall message across the whole county from everyone we were dealing with, not Clayton, but all the other departments, the major departments were saying, you know, if they were getting manpower dollars, we're not able to get people to actually sign up if we're having to pay $15. And so if they were to go to the 20 or 21, where the standard is right now, they didn't have the money to cover the full hours. And what we negotiated out to begin with was, because he was telling me about the 80,000 that they're kind of in a hole over the payroll. And so what we agreed to begin with, or started from the standpoint of saying, well, the county's not gonna go 80,000 in this first year and then go from there. But if we were to go 20, 40, 60, 80 by year 4 to have up to where you are now, would that be acceptable? And he did say that he felt that the board would go for that. I mean, we've got the numbers down. The numbers were okay. This totally centers and comes back on the donations, because that was changed. So and again, he said tonight they were willing to pick up the slack until we kind of caught up with that and so on and so forth. And the same, again, the other fire departments, it would always come back to the part-time. Poor Pegram was down there still trying to go to $15 an hour. And he said, I can't hire anybody, because they go to McDonald's and make $15, $16, $17 an hour in Bellevue if they're looking for just the money. And so again, that's the reason we adjusted theirs from 100,000 for the same type of situation for one station, with the 2 men for 12 hours a day, 5 days a week, But I said, what is it gonna take for you to go to $20, $21 an hour like the rest of the department, so you have a shot at hiring people? And that's the reason we went to $133,000, so that they now have, that they can afford the $20, $21 an hour for the two men. Now, in Pleasantview, they have two stations we're funding that way, so it kind of doubled on that.
I guess what I'm thinking is, if it costs $20, say $20 a year per house to, to have the fire department, have fire service and all, are we doing the same thing for Ashland City, Pleasant View, Kingston Plain, Pegram? Are we doing the same number? I mean,
We don't have a formula like that, but again, keep in mind, all the contracts didn't come in at one time where that was done. It literally started at Kingston Springs and Pegram and continued to go north over time, over several years before we actually had all the county under a fire contract. So wherever it started, and really the basis was, okay, we're gonna cover this area, how much is it gonna take for Pleasantview Volunteer Fire Department, Ashland City, whatever, and they came up with a number, and they said, this is what it's gonna cost, and we said, we got this number of homes, this is what it's gonna take to the fire tax. That's the reason when I started 8 years ago, we had, 4 or 5 different fire taxes across the county. So we worked to get 2, and then last year we took it to 1, so that it would eliminate the county nightmare from trying to figure out. And the other thing that happened on that is that when you collected money in that district, it had to stay in that district. You couldn't take that money somewhere else that needed it or anything like that until we got to the 1. So all that has changed over time. That's how it's developed over time. If we'd all gone at one time, that would have made sense. And again, we're making some of the turn back that to kind of level it out across the county. I think we have done that this year to try to address Ashland City, Kingston Springs, and Pegram with their funding needs for manpower. Because that was across the board. And PJ's right. The days of the volunteers that you can count on and depend on and know they're going to be there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Good luck with that. It doesn't work out too well.
I guess what I'm saying, I don't think it's fair for Pleasant View to get $50 per house, Kingston Springs to get $40 per house, Ashland City to get $30. I mean, I think for every resident you got, you ought to be putting the same amount of money into it.
Well, if you took, because again, keep in mind, Pleasantview took over Henrietta, so they probably have the number of houses, it's not too far off from that. Because they took over Henrietta, it's not just their fire district, but the rural area there, they took over Henrietta too, and they folded several years ago. I've had Henrietta for several years. So it's almost double, and Ashland City took on a lot of the rural when Two Rivers folded. So both of those are the highest paid because they have the largest areas, which in turn probably the most homes too.
I don't even know who I've got.
But the other issue with that is the other Ashland City, Pegram, and Kingston Springs, all of those other rural areas that they serve, the county pays for, the county built those stations and pays for their utilities, they pay for the repairs, they pay for the HVAC, they pay for all of that. That's not the way it is in Pleasantview. Those stations belong to Pleasantview, and we have to upkeep and maintain and replace and all of that. So that's the difference between the stations that the county built, which we have one of those stations on the Thomasville Road area where we do that, like the Ashland City station.
Oh, road, county built it.
But it was a partnership, you know.
And we continue to look, we talked about, and I agree with you, the Neptune is just because it's there. It doesn't, nobody, I don't think they can even run volunteers there and grab something and go fight something. I don't know what's there.
Well, we do. I mean, Drew Aiken, he's probably one of our most active volunteers, lives right there on that.
Well, if they're not getting together, he'd better to go get the equipment there. But we've continued for the last 8 years too to identify a location, land, so we could build a fire hall there. And at that point, the county would definitely operate and deal with that. So he is right from the standpoint, it's a little bit different from district to district. So we are looking to put a true fire hall there, as well as we're looking at EMS capabilities there on down the road and stuff like that. So that's it. But again, the contract goes back to centered on the donations. And what we had worked on, he wasn't happy with it, but we had worked on, and what I originally brought to y'all was that he would notify or give us notice of 14 days in advance of the donation stuff that we're putting out. But you give the county the option to say, this is coming to your mailbox, but realize this is not for your fire service. Your fire tax pays this, and we're, get the word out as much as we can. And I agree with Mr. Walter. I've had more calls and people stopping me that walking around Sycamore Square saying, what am I supposed to do with this? We had a big discussion in Sunday school class. Everybody got this. What am I supposed to do with it? And I'd have to say, your fire tax got you covered. If you want to donate above and beyond that, that's it. But if you throw that away, they'll still come if your house is on fire.
I know, like when that vote came about, and I thought the original negotiation with the 2 weeks and stuff, I thought that was, I know Chief Duncan didn't like, and they're close right now, but it was fair, and I know you know, we were kind of, you know, aware of that or whatever, but, you know, I lost my train of thought. Well, they just-
It happens with age.
Yeah.
It's gonna get more.
Yeah, birthday last week, you can tell.
Yeah, it's gonna get more.
I didn't think that was a terrible, I didn't think that was terrible. Just because, like, we as a county or the fire department in conjunction with that or whatever, would be given you'd be throwing it out there, hey, this is coming, or this is what to expect, or, you know, I know there still is probably as many people that don't get on social media that get on social media. But at the same token, if we do our due diligence about getting it out, you know, in the end, just again, I'm glad he came and spoke, because there was a lot of unanswered questions. And sometimes it's easy just to pick up the phone and just call and ask somebody. And you know, even the constituents can do that. And, you know, maybe transparency, you know, transparency is everything. And not that the fire department is not transparent, but in the end, if someone just pick up the phone and call or ask some questions, then the transparency will fall in line with that. Me personally, I know I voted yes when that come around, but by the time it got to me, it didn't matter what I said. It was gonna pass regardless. I thought the 14-day rule was fair as far as giving proper notification. Edwin would help facilitate that. I know the mayor and him would have done it, you know, the county website, the social media. You know, the fire department would have probably done some things as well to say, hey, this is coming. You don't have to do it. It's there literally if you want to do it. You know, I guess in the broad scheme of things, you could go to a restaurant and buy a $20 steak. You don't have to tip the waitress, but you can. So it's kind of, to me, that may not be a great example, but it's the same concept essentially. With exception, you give a waitress a tip, that's not fundraising, I get it. But I'm sure, and I know, you know, Mr. Jimmy said it, you know, if it can be done, I mean, if they're short $50,000 by not doing the donations, then find a way to build it in the contract. You know, if Pleasant View's given an extra $50,000 because they solicit donations, you know, the question will come, well, do we have to give the other 3 fire departments or 4 fire departments the extra $50,000? Well, no, because Ashland City, Kingston, and Cheatham are all city funded too. I mean, he doesn't have a municipality essentially for a budget. But I say all that to say that I would like to see it get worked out. I know the county doesn't want to get in the fire business. I can't speak for everybody. I'm sure I can to an extent that, you know, we don't want to see this, you know, not get worked out. But, you know, from the emergency services side, it's not the committee, but just in the county as a whole, surely there's a common ground somewhere. I don't know where it is. You know, it could be beyond me, but I know, I'm sure he doesn't want to send the mail out. Obviously, he doesn't know more than we want to see him going out. But if it takes the extra $50,000 to make it work, then, you know, or the 14-day rule, he might not collect $50,000 next year in donations. Is that a cheaper route? It could be. Whatever you guys think. But that's just my 2 cents of it. I thought the 14-day rule was pretty smart. You know, it's transparency. It gets it out. It announces it from all different aspects. And then in the end, you know, folks don't know that, you know, they pick up the phone and call, or, you know, there's enough elected officials or emergency services folks in this county that somebody will ask a question. I've been asked about fire department things, and I have to direct them to whichever fire department or Edwin or somebody. But I think there could be a common ground. again, I can't say enough, I know as much as Chief Duncan, his board probably didn't like the 14-day rule, but what the mayor didn't work out, I thought was fair. Again, that's just not just, I don't know if anybody else has got anything.
Well, I think fair, I mean, in favor of giving them some more money to keep them doing this, just so you don't have to do it. But I would be in favor too, in the future, that we sit down and work this out, where every fire department in the county is getting the same amount of money for the number of houses that they're taking care of. And I know that Pleasantville is taking care of probably more houses than anybody else.
They're getting paid more than anybody else.
You want?
They're getting paid more than anybody else.
Exactly, yeah. But that's what I'm saying. I mean, I just think it all needs to be, in the future, needs to be all put together fair, where each one is getting the same amount.
Receiving from the county.
I didn't bring it with me.
The coming year for the basic fee is $544,875, and it's $220,000 person. $220,000 per person, so that's the staffing.
And 54,000 from the Fire Association.
So set one, let's set one.
And that's right, and just to be clear, that 200,000 or whatever that is, on the staff side, that's just a pass through for us. I mean, he goes to the part-time people that our contract says we'll have.
All right, guys, from, on Monday night's agenda, under emergency services, do y'all want to place something on there to try to cover this $50,000?
When are the contracts due?
The current ones expire at the end of June.
Well, the mayor negotiates the contract, so I can't speak for the mayor, but, I mean, he could probably speak, that'd be something him and Chief Duncan, like he negotiated with all the other entities. I don't think he needs to come to the floor, like that's a negotiation between the county and Pleasantview, and the mayor contracts say the mayor negotiates those, so.
Well, it was negotiated in the law, and that's why it's handed back. So that's why I went back to them. So I mean, y'all gonna give me some kind of direction. No reason for me to go back and say, yeah, 14 days is fine, and then bring it back here and several of y'all say, no solicitation. It's no solicitation.
To me, if you want to put it back on the agenda or whatever
I
you
mean,
need to do.
we voted last month to not allow it, so we're gonna have to vote to do something different
I mean,
if we're gonna do anything
If it's not
different.
allowed, then, the 50,000 that they collected before, I mean, there's 3 or 4 people here in agreement with it. I mean, and he don't want to send out donations, so, I mean,
You know,
whatever he got to do, budget the money or get the money there to not send donations, and if he's got the shortfall, as far as that goes, then you wouldn't have no reason to send donations.
I didn't hear what you said. How much do we give to Pleasantview?
It would be
Total?
$544,875. Is the primary service fee, and then another $55,000.
And 220,000 for personnel on top of that, and 55,000 for the 2 areas they cover in Pleasantview and Henrietta through the Fire Association. So that's the total contribution to Pleasantview. And there's several $100,000 above the next one in line, which is Ashland City. But again, they cover more territory and they cover more housing. I don't doubt that than Ashland City does. They have more rural areas.
So I mean, we've got to do something, because I mean, if they turn the contract down, we don't do anything, I don't see how they're gonna make it without that, what, $750,000, $800,000 from the county? I mean,
If the mayor comes back and negotiated with y'all and give you 40,000 more, this all go away.
I can't answer that. I mean, I have a board of directors that have to answer that, but I mean, I don't know. I'm honestly, I can't answer that. Our board,
I mean, you short 50,000 and you already said you're sending out money to buy stamps and all, so, you're not really short 50,000, you're short.
like I said, our board was frustrated. I'm just being honest. I am being transparent here. Our board of directors was frustrated in the beginning because we're taking that $80,000 deficit on the part-time right up front, and we're taking the 38 or whatever it is deficit to start with on their operational side. But we agreed to that because the mayor, I felt like we were working together at that point, because the mayor said, all right, So at the end of the 4-year contract, we would be where, honestly, we should be today, but it'd just be over a 4-year period. And I think we were at the point where we could handle that, and that would be the right thing to do. But then, like I said, with the last meeting, he cut another 50 grand off the top, right? It's 49 something is what we collected so far. And it may be 55,000 this year. We still got 6 or 8 months to go this year. But the 50,000 is a round number. I think.
Well, it'd be 25,000.
I mean, you could always go
49
back
already, so.
without giving like the money in lieu of the donations and just rescind what you voted on as far as the solicitation. As long as the 14-day that was negotiated, as far as you vote, or you get it out and send it out. I mean, I know you guys probably don't want to get phone calls. I can say that I've only heard it a few times from folks in Pleasant. I don't know if you've ever got any phone calls. And that was just, that's not been the whole time I've been on the commission that I've got any phone calls about it. It's only happened to me a few times. But, I mean, I'm all for whatever you guys want to do. I mean, you can find a way to give the 50,000 in their contract, or just rescind your vote for ceasing the solicitation. I mean, you could flip flop your vote around and give them the solicitation rights back, and they may only raise $20,000, but you give them that opportunity. Or you can just not give them that opportunity and factor in, the projected amounts of 50,000 that they got last year. So
is it documentation of that 50,000, and you could legitimately say, okay, this is what we took in on that donation?
Yeah, right now it's like 49, I looked at it today, it's like 49,850 or something like that. And like I said, we're only in, May, or whatever we are, May. So, I mean, it could be, by the end of the year, it could be 55, it could be 60. I was just using the round numbers of 50. It usually spikes off this time of year because it's front loaded, because they get them in, early or late December. But yeah, so that's just a round number. I can show you the 49,850 right now, that's going to be.
I want to tell you, with it being on my tax bill, I don't want to get something asking me for money. When I pay my light bill, Colonel Electric don't send me something saying, well, you want to donate some more?
They put a thing on that like they were donating the homeless thing or whatever. There's something at the bottom of your light bill, and everybody else does it. We gotta figure it out some way. That's all I'm saying.
Well, the commission voted, so unless we want to put something on the agenda, on the agenda for Monday night, and that's up to y'all. Do you want something else on the agenda Monday night? Somebody make a motion?
Yeah, I'm gonna make a motion, we put on.
Well, you can make a motion Monday night, but I'll put it on the agenda.
Do you wanna know what it is?
Yeah. You may change it by Monday, but I'll put on the agenda there.
Well, and I'm putting it on there so that we can go forward with this, but then somebody can change it Monday night. At least we've got it
What
on
you
the
got?
table, to rescind the donation letters.
I mean, to me, like I said, I get it, but to me, that makes the most logical sense. Like I said, if you rescind that and proper notification is made, just like the contract had stated, the 2 week, you get out and let people know, you field the calls as whatever, or if somebody calls you, call the fire chief in Pleasantville, he'll answer any questions that you may have. I promise you, he will answer the phone and talk to you. That's what he's supposed to do. And I've been around him long enough. Through all of our disagreements, I know that he will talk to these people. I know that he will. But what do you got to lose if you reverse the solicitation thing and they collect $20,000, but then you decided not to do that and you just give them 50, I mean, roll the dice.
Well, the other thing to keep in mind, it's not just 50, it's a 4-year contract. Right. If you say it's 50, it's $200,000.
Right, over the donation.
Yes, well, it's $200,000 over the 4-year contract, in addition to what we're already giving.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind. If you're gonna do anything, I would love for you to take another look at the 14-day thing, see if you can get that through our board, or his board. That's our best case scenario.
That's what I'm trying to convey. That's the best case scenario. I mean, again, like I said, when it come through, by the time it got to E&I, it didn't matter what we said, we were outvoted.
Yeah, but you should always speak your mind.
I know.
Mr. Block?
And I explained to Chief Duncan, that was my fault.
You should always speak your mind.
But I'm speaking it now, that's why I'm in the gun, so.
Mr. Bly,
I'm a prime candidate of this because, like I just said, my parents are pushing 90 years old. They have no communication with social media, nor do I. None, period. And they get these things from Clay just like I do. I got enough sense to know because I sit here and I know what to do with that piece of paper from Clay. My parents don't. They come to me, hey, do we need to pay this? Absolutely not. So are they going to go around 14 days and start calling and say, hey, do I need to pay it? Absolutely not. If it wasn't for me, they would probably, I said, if you want to carry $1 million down, carry it down. But you don't have to. You don't have to. Now, are they going for 14 days or they going to get out rail cages and big bushes to see whether they got to pay that? No.
No, but their donation letter don't say that they have, and I know what you're saying, that some folks might not be able to read or see or what have you, but, you know,
I think the best thing to do is to give them $50,000 and forget about it.
Mr. Bly, I got a question. I may be being sarcastic here, but by law, could Cindy put on the tax form she sends out, pay these taxes, and if you want to donate more money to the county, send it right on in? I mean, it would be no difference.
That's good, and I'm thinking that sounds great, but I could do that.
Volunteer pay other people's taxes.
But I didn't pay mine.
Well, they can, but I mean, you see it on other bills, round up to go to something else. That's not, I mean, it's up to you whether you round up to go to St. Jude's or whatever. All these causes are great causes. It's our choice to make whether we do it or not. I mean, we just convey that we don't have to do it.
How are you going to do that?
I don't know the right answer.
How are you going to convey to all of these people that you don't have to do?
I'm in the same boat you're in. I've told my grandparents time and time again before they passed away, you don't have to pay that. I've not paid mine. Like my house is caught on fire before. I've told them, hey, I want you there when I need you there, but if my wife and my kids and my dog are out of the house, let it burn. I don't know the right answers.
There's no way that you can convey that message across the county.
But on the same token,
There's no way
if I'm in a car
to reach
crash,
every person, to reach every individual out there. There's no way to convey that message.
I get it, but if I'm in a car crash and my lawnmower turns over on me, cuts my leg off or whatever, I don't want them there.
I do too.
And
I ain't saying that. I ain't what this discussion's about.
but we gotta, but if we don't negotiate it out, we won't have them there. So that's something.
I don't know the right, like I said, to me, I think we just put it back out for vote about the 14 days and let them, you know, I thought that, I thought that was fair. That was trying, you know, transparency would be there, you know. But we as elected officials, even as people, like, you just give your best effort to make sure that things are understood and that things are transparent and are out for folks to understand and be there to answer questions when they got them. You know, it would be asinine for us to think that we could reach every person in the Pleasant View rural area that would be in the 3rd and 4th districts. I mean, you could never guarantee that. That's like saying, oh, well, there's never gonna be another overdose. You can't say that. So all we can do is our due diligence, and I don't think you can ask any more of anybody than that. And I just think the 14-day agreement or whatever, however that was termed was, you know, again, I know Chief Duncan didn't like it, it's fair, but it's still there. They had the opportunity. If they got money, great. If they didn't, they tried and they were there. They had the opportunity in front of them. That's my suggestion, is just to take it back and revote that.
Whose back is this going to fall on for these 14 days to get the word out to these people that you don't have to do this? Who's going to be responsible for that?
Well,
They have to give it to Edwin, and then from Edwin, we would take it through the website or wherever we need to, go to Facebook or whatever the case may be.
But that's what I'm telling you.
Well, I know.
I mean, everybody don't do that Facebook.
I know.
Jim, it's kind of like this, we put stop signs all over the county, everybody stop at it. So you really didn't have $1 million ways from something. but not everybody will stop. I mean,
I thought,
only thing that I've realized through this, that if I feel one of these phone calls, it's my job and my duty as a commissioner to tell this constituent, no, ma'am, no, sir, you don't have to pay that. If you want to, it's entirely up to you.
It's fourth thing, if you have any questions, call the fire chief. I mean,
well, I thought the 14-day was, they're gonna let us look at it, because this is a language we want them to send out. Is that not right?
I mean, I don't know how we can dictate, I mean, I don't know. Go ahead.
What was the 14 days?
They will give notice of anything they are shipping out, at least 14 days before they ship it out. So we would have it in hand.
Right.
To deal with it.
So every envelope, every postcard and everything we would look at, we would have 14 days. Say, yes, I'll change this, or don't
No.
change that.
Well, it's 14 days to notify the public. I mean, again, we don't have any control of volunteer fire department.
Right, that's what I was gonna say. We can't dictate what they say and what they don't say. I mean, our job will be to get it out. You know, again, it's transparency with the public and constituents, like. At the end of the day, if they don't understand, like, call the fire chief.
The real
All right.
issue that came about, that kind of brought this to a head, was the postcards they sent out. It didn't say anything on the postcard, and like I said, when you scan the barcode, it took you right to a cart to give them your money. It didn't say what it was for, or this was, you know, if you got the fire tax, you're in fire tax, it's covered, or anything like that. So, that's what happened. Now, the brochure was very long-winded. If you read to the end of it, it was toward the end of it. I don't think that was very fair. It needs to be prominent, it needs to be on there. Any solicitation they make, in my mind. And again, they're a volunteer fire department, they're not under the county, not under the city. They can do whatever they need to, but that would give us the ability to say, this is coming to your mailbox. And do not pay this unless you just want to give them a free donation because your fire tax has got you covered.
All right, it's gonna be,
I would be opposed to them sending them out. If they printed them off and let us look at them and read them, and they sent one per household, or whoever they're sending them to, and it said on there, big black letters, you are not required to donate. But if you so choose, you can. Simple. Simple. I wouldn't be opposed to that.
And honestly, we thought we did that. We carried it to the emergency services and let them read that and got the okay. So, not the postcard. The postcard.
That's where the problem is.
Postcard had, what,
That's not the problem. The problem is the lack of funding. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I don't mind trying to make it up on donations, but now you're telling me I can't even do that. That's not the problem. The problem is lack of funding. I've sitting there listening to all this, and I would love for you to take that $700,000, $800,000 you give me and go out and run 4 fire stations and 50 volunteers and make 3,000. I'd love for you to try that. You can't make it work. I'd love for anybody to try it. I'd give you a year. We'll put a pause on our contract for a year and try it. We'll sell you 4 fire stations and 4 fire trucks.
Would you be opposed to sending out one of those postcards that reads just what I said?
No, sir.
You wouldn't be opposed to that?
No, sir.
If
And
it
I
said-
apologize that it didn't say that, it was not, you make it sound like I did that, and we did that intentionally, like we were trying to undermine the citizen of the county, and that's not true. Yes, the postcard didn't say that, but we're trying to condense a 3-page letter onto a postcard, so we're not having to pay that again. Did it say it? Probably not, and I apologize for that. We'll make it say it next time, but it was not intentional. So for anybody to look at us and say, that's the problem, so we omitted something on accident, or we just didn't think about it, to be honest with you, that it was such a big deal. We
Looks
thought
to me
we-
like the simple solution to the whole problem we've sat here and talked about is for y'all to come up with one postcard that says that, and let us all look at it. If we say, hey, send it, we're.
That's the contract we passed. That's what you guys passed until the last meeting where it got brought up, we couldn't do that.
But
My board of directors had already said okay to that part.
that big postcard, I would like for it to say, but the first thing you read on it, you are not required to donate, but if you choose to, so be it, blah, blah, blah. That way, a blind man can read the thing and say, well, I ain't got to give, throw it away, you know?
all right, we're gonna put it on the agenda for Monday night to revisit this, whatever the motion comes up. Anybody else got anything emergency services? All right, Capital improvements?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, man.
Next week is EMS week, so if you see any of the EMS folks out, give them a pat on the back.
All right, capital improvements?
I guess we'll say this real quick on the emergency services. We got a lot of questions about why the flags are half staffed and slow parts on the south. This week is on Memorial Week, so that maybe that answers some of the questions that the lady passed away, we've not lost anybody. It's just, it's police officer had a week all the way to DC. So we have representatives.
May 15th, all those flags will be at half staff. May 15th is the day it's recognized nationally, so all of our flags go to half staff on the 15th.
Nothing on capital improvements?
No, sir.
County rules, here, road and bridge?
I did not meet.
Anybody else? Any other committees I missed? Any other new business? Diana, you got anything to announce? Anything else? Motion adjourned?